In this video, we will provide more detailed instructions related to Step 1 of the Academic Integrity Investigation process, as outlined in the Student Code of Conduct Academic Integrity Policy. If you're looking for a more simplified overview of the four-step process, we encourage you to go back and watch the introductory video in this series, and begin there instead. At this point, we assume you have the flowchart in front of you for reference, but if you don't, simply go to Lakehead Student Conduct webpage and download the flowchart from the Resources tab. If we zoom in on Step 1 from the flowchart, you can see the first action if you suspect a breach of academic integrity is to email the student a copy of the Form 1 letter. This must be done within 10 business days of detection, or 3 business days if the violation took place during a final exam or midterm exam for a full credit equivalent course. Form 1, as noted on the flowchart, is also called the Advisory of Suspected Breach of Academic Integrity. This template, along with the others, can be downloaded from the Resources section of the Student Conduct webpage. Just scroll down a little bit further, and you'll see them just below the other student and faculty resources. Once you've downloaded Form 1 and open it up in Microsoft Word, you can see that it's a fairly simple template to fill out. Just enter the date and student information. And as a side note, when entering a student's name, there's no need to use Mr. or Mrs. to identify the student. It's much easier to just put their full name. Once you've filled out all the basic information, you'll move on to filling out the description of the allegation. In this box, try to be as specific as you can. Imagine being in the student's position. They might be completely oblivious to the fact that they've done something wrong, so you want to ensure it's clear enough to explain what behavior is in question and why. So for example, let's say the student plagiarized. I'd want to state what assignment it was in and explain that I found the exact same wording from a source on the internet. I would include that link and specify that it appears as though the student copied and pasted, took the author's words verbatim, didn't paraphrase, put the words in quotation, nor did they acknowledge the source in any way through proper citation. And I would say that this behavior is considered plagiarism. And I might also consider including a definition of plagiarism from the student code, again, just to be extra clear. The thing we want to avoid here is being overly ambiguous or too vague. Failure to provide these types of details does tend to cause needless confusion and stress, which we want to avoid as much as possible. In some cases, there will be too many violations to list on this advisory letter, and that's okay. You don't have to put them all on Form 1. Just explain, for example, that what you've shared is only 1 or 2 examples of 8 plagiarized sections, let's say, that you found in their paper. And keep in mind that you'll also have an opportunity to attach evidence and provide more detail with Form 2, if that's applicable, so it doesn't all have to happen along with Form 1. The intention of Form 1, if you remember from earlier on, is that first point of contact simply to let the student know that you've noticed something in their work that you believe might be a violation of the Student Code of Conduct, and that you or the dean will be in touch with them shortly to set up a meeting to discuss the matter. Once you finish this section, you'll want to enter your contact information here and select how the document was provided to the student. In most cases, it will be via email, so just double-click on that to get the checkbox option. And lastly, delete the PDF reminder from the top of the page before you save the file as a PDF, locking in all the formatting and margins. Once this is complete, you can then move on to emailing Form 1 to the student, remembering to copy Student Affairs by CCing the Manager of Student Conduct and Case Management. And one important thing to mention here is double-checking the email address of the student. The last thing you want to do is blindly rely on the autofill function within the Lakehead email system, which is extremely helpful, but just double check that it's the right student before sending this highly sensitive and private email off to the student. If you happen to send it to the wrong person, the Risk Management Office must be notified, and you'll have to carry out extra steps to correct your mistake. So please consider applying the Undo Send feature to your Lakehead email. It applies a send cancellation period of up to 30 seconds and can be very useful when you forget to double check an email address before clicking send. There are a few other things to consider when sending this email. If you are at all concerned with the formality of the process, you can always add your own personal touch to the email and warm it up a little bit if you so choose. I know instructors who have a really good relationship with their students will often explain the situation a little bit more and put the formality of the Form 1 letter in context so that the student understands that these are steps that must be followed and they're put in place to ensure a fair and consistent process. Also, please try to avoid advising a student of a suspected breach on a Friday afternoon, over the weekend, or any other time the student may have difficulties getting a hold of you or other supports at the university. When a student receives this letter, as you can imagine, it often affects them negatively, Some students experience stress or panic, and connecting them with the ombudsperson, the student conduct office, or a mental health professional at the Student Health and Wellness Center can be of great benefit, and often time is of the essence. So please try to send out Form 1 letters to the student during regular business hours. Obviously, we understand this isn't always an option, but just do your best to keep this in mind for the sake of our students' safety and well-being. Once you sent the email off to the student and student affairs, the manager of student conduct and case management will do a search through the student conduct database to see if the student has any other upheld allegations on record. They will get back to you within 3 business days to let you know how to proceed. If the student is an undergraduate student and this is their first offense, then you would be responsible for carrying out the investigation. However, cases involving graduate students, students with multiple allegations, prior breaches, or cases involving final examinations or midterms of full credit equivalent courses, these situations will be referred to the student's dean. You will receive an email from Student Affairs notifying you of this and instructing you to send all relevant information and evidence along to the dean. When a case is referred to the dean, you do not have to proceed to step 2. Your job at this point in time is essentially done. However, the dean will likely reach out to you at some point if they're looking for some expert advice, additional information on the case, or if they're looking for your opinion on how you'd like the situation to be handled. That concludes video 1 for the academic integrity investigation process. For more in-depth commentary and instructions on steps 2 and beyond, please refer to the other videos in this series. And as always, if you have any questions or need support at any point in time, please do not hesitate to contact the Student Conduct Office.